Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Today I'm here with... What's going on, everybody? Today I'm here with the main man, Karsten Schlag, our cinematographer on this little woodworking dock, and he also did all the color. He is a wizard with DaVinci Resolve, so we are going to kind of go through a few shots. Also going to talk about Dehancer and kind of everything that goes into all that stuff. So, do you have anything to say, Karsten?
I am not a wizard. I am aggressively mediocre, and I will attempt to share my mediocrity with you. Let's start with the wide shot here. In Resolve, when I'm coloring, I work on two levels, the timeline level and the clip level. The timeline level is basically where you can go in and everything you do in these nodes is going to affect your entire timeline. So every single shot on your timeline is going to be affected when you're grading within the timeline nodes. So that's like building the look, basically, I do within the timeline section because I want that to go on all of the clips and I don't have to copy and paste to all of them. So it just makes it really easy to make changes to your entire project instead of having one little change and then copying it and putting it on all the other nodes. So, and like the name says, for clip, it'll only affect just that clip. Let's turn off our timeline nodes here as well and kind of see what we're looking at. So this is our just right at a camera Rec 709 image. This is what it looked like on the day, and honestly, I still think this looks pretty solid. So the first thing that I do when I'm color grading is I go in and I want to build my look. And for this project, I did that within Dehancer. So Dehancer is an awesome plugin. It's to create film looks. Even though like this is supposed to be used to build like, film emulations, I don't always use it that way. Like for this project, we weren't going for a film look. We just wanted kind of things to feel a little bit thicker and the colors to feel a little bit deeper. And so film tends to have that kind of characteristics. So I knew that kind of going film-ish, if you will, was the kind of right move. And to do that, I use a bit of Dehancer. To do that, we kind of set up here in our proper color piping, color pipeline, which is the DaVinci Wide Gamut. And then we kind of just went through, and for this, there's a ton of options of different film stocks you can choose. We chose to go with the Kodak Vision 3 250D. It's a pretty common stock. It looks really nice, and we like the characteristics of that. So we chose that, so I can kind of show you what that does here. So that's without it, that's with it. As you can see, it makes a pretty decent change to it. And then we also used a film print, which for this we used the classic, the 2383, which is, I'm sure you've heard of before. And again, for this, pretty much what we did within here is we made a few changes within here. We upped the color density and we upped the saturation of it because the film emulation, the stock, the Vision 3 250D, it kind of desaturated a little bit and we didn't really want that look. Like I said, we were going for a kind of film-ish look, not a film look, so we didn't want those kind of desaturated colors. We wanted them to still have some life and some juice to them. So we did up that saturation in here as well. So I can turn that off and turn it on and show you what it did. So this is just with the 250D, and that's with our print there. So looked nice. We were hitting in the right direction here. And then we also did our film grain in here as well, which is just what it sounds like. It's film grain. The next thing that we did on our timeline level was I wanted to kind of balance the image a little bit more. Because right now, just looking at it, it feels like our blacks aren't really black and our highlights are close, but maybe they're a little bit too warm for what I was looking for here. So in another node right before this, I balanced it out. Our highlights, as you can see now, are more pure white and our blacks are more pure black. After that, we added, this is a fun one. This is something that I really enjoy doing to a lot of projects when it fits. And this is adding a little bit of lens blur and vignette to the outside of the image. I'm sure a lot of people are going to hate this, and I've gotten hate for it before because people are like, why would you mess up such a clean and sharp image with your blur and your vignette? And it's like, because it looks cool. Like, shut up. To do this, what I do is I put a lens blur effect on here, which you can just find in your effects. Like, you just search lens blur and you just drag it onto the node. And then from there, what I did is I added a mask on here and drug it out so it's only affecting the corners of the image. And so we're just getting that blur just on the edges of the image here, kind of like you would find on a more vintage lens. And then as well, to kind of add to this look and sell it a little bit, I put a little bit of a vignette. And to do that, we're already only affecting the corners here, so then I just drug the offset wheel down a little bit, and that pulled that in, focuses our eyes, and kind of adds a little bit of a vintage character to the image. So I love doing that, and that's something that I think is super cool that we did here.
I also think, though, that because this we talked about how Dehancer, we got too much of a film look when we first put it on, so we turned it down, but we still wanted that like character. We didn't want it to feel like clinical vibe. So, you know, especially when you're working with small businesses, I think like not a corporate shoot, but there's a time and a place for a film emulation. And I think like doing it the way we did it, we found like a nice balance between the two.
Yeah, and that's honestly really what you're always kind of looking for, is you want to make sure that, you know, you're finding something that fits the client, what they want, but that's also going to kind of fill you creatively, you know. And a lot of projects that you get, especially with kind of smaller businesses, they want like, you know, the social media style content, which can tend to feel a little bit boring and unoriginal. And so whenever you can kind of take something that maybe wouldn't be the most interesting thing in the world and add some character to it, but still please your client, it's always a great thing, which I feel like we hit the nail on the head here with that look. So that's pretty much all we did on the timeline level, and that was across all of our clips. So that was kind of our starting point for each image. And then that's really where the real fun begins, and we actually get to start kind of fine-tuning and shaping each shot from there. So we can kind of get into that now if we're ready to move to that.
Yeah, let's do it. So let's jump into the first shot. I think we're going to look at...
Do we want to look at this shot?
Yeah, let's look at this shot. Yeah, let's do it.
All right, so as you can see, we got a decent amount of nodes here. And these are pretty much all just used to kind of shape the image. And I do that a lot through power windows and gradients. It's pretty much like if on set you had set up giant flags or, you know, T-bones of neg just to kind of block things out, or added sometimes even extra lights on set. It's a really, really powerful tool that I highly suggest everyone experiment and start using, because it's really what kind of turns your color grading from something that maybe doesn't feel as polished to something that has a little bit of a higher quality look. You know, so I'll kind of show you what I did here. So this is with just our timeline adjustment changes on here, and then this is with all the changes that I did at the clip level. So as you can see, going from here to here, it's a pretty big change. Overall, what you can kind of see just from this is, you know, with just our timeline level adjustments and what we were kind of shooting on set, like I said, we had, or like Pat said, we had pretty much no lights with us. We had one light that we kind of moved around a little bit, but for this, I don't think we used any lights. So his face ended up being a little bit too dark. And so we kind of just wanted to overall make it feel natural that there was more light coming through here and kind of wrapping his face around. But obviously, you know, we did that in post, so I can kind of show you how we did that here. Right off the bat, it's too dark. We want to add some life to his face and to the image overall. So starting with just his face, I added a power window right here, and then I tracked it through the image so that way it's going to stay on his face even if he moves. Then with the power window here, you want to make sure when you're doing stuff on faces that you're really making sure that the power window is feathered, because if it's not feathered out and soft, it's going to feel like there's just a circle of light. And we obviously, you know, let's get in there. Yeah, get on in there, Pat. Show the people. So as you can see right here, like, we have that feathered out like pretty much to the max that it can be. And we want to add this light for the most part just to the key side, because that's where the light's coming from. If I had this power window on the other side, it would look really weird because the light wasn't coming from that way. So anytime you're doing any sort of adjustment with a power window, you want to make sure it's coming from the same direction that your lighting is coming from. Otherwise, it's going to feel dumb. So don't do that. As you can see right here, if we just turn this on and off, it's just adding just a kiss of light to that key side and just helping to kind of boost it up and wrap it around a little bit. So like I said, the rest of the room is a little bit too dark as well after doing that one power window. So this is when I'm going to come in and I'm going to use a gradient. A gradient is what the name sounds like. It is a gradual increase or decrease of whatever the thing is. In this case, it is exposure. For this, we just pulled it down from our key side because, again, if it was coming from the other side, it would feel weird. So we pull that down, that softens it off because we do want it to be a nice gradual fall off across the room. And then this is what we're left with there. And that's literally just upping the offset wheel and dragging it out so it softens off. So after doing our little lift here with our kind of gradient, I still think that our shadows overall in the image were just sitting a bit too dark. And so for this, I just used the offset wheel right here and just cranked it up a little bit. Some people are afraid of kind of boosting their image like that because it's gonna like reveal some of the noise that's there, which is true. But I don't think you need to be that scared of it as long as you're not lifting it like 2-3 stops. If you're just lifting it like up like half a stop, like it's not gonna be that big of a deal. Like this was shot on a Blackmagic camera in pretty dark conditions, and black magics are not notoriously known for being clean in the shadows, and even with this little lift that we did here, we didn't get that too much noise. So don't be afraid of lifting up your shadows if you feel like you need to. Then in here, as you can see, it just very slightly pulls down the bottom of this image here with another gradient, because again, we want our eyes to be focused at the center of this image, at our talent here. Finally, the last thing that we did was I put another power window around our guy. I brought him up just slightly and brought the rest of the room down by adding an outside node. So when you have a power window and you add an outside node, and you do that by just right clicking on the power window and then or on the node and then add outside, it's going to affect the opposite of whatever your last one. So if your last one was affecting the outside of the image or the outside of the power window, then it's going to affect the inside and vice versa. Pretty much all you have to rely on when you're doing something run and gun like this is your composition and the positioning of the sun. So that was super important here when we scouted, and we had the luxury of scouting for this documentary project, which a lot of projects for this, docu-style stuff, you don't have that luxury. So it was nice being able to do that and seeing where the sun was going to be, because that allowed for our more polished shots, if you will, in the wood shop to look a little bit elevated, which was nice. But, my kind of approach just in general for doing docu-style stuff is kind of seeing, what composition will get the light to look the nicest or most polished, like it had a light or something. And then I kind of know if I'm grading this, what I can do to it in post. Yeah, it's nice. And, the thing with like a project like this is, it's so funny to look back at them even like a month or two later. And it's like, wow, I would have done so much stuff differently. Yeah. But client was happy. And at the end of the day, that is the ultimate goal. You're always going to get better. Every project you do, you're going to look back a month later and be like, oh, this could have been so much better. But, if you deliver something to your client and that they're happy with and they're able to share with whoever they need to share it with, you've done your job, and, give yourself a pat on the back for that. So, yeah.
Cool. I think the shoot was a lot of fun. It was like I said, we were both like, let's just make something. And we were like, what's the next? I think you just hit me up and you were like, what's the next spec? Yeah. And I was like, I don't know. So, luckily I had a connection to this really cool story, this woodworking company. We were like, you know what, let's just rock it, you and I, and just see what we can do. And we made it work, and it was a fun little project. All right, man. Well, I got to shout out. This man's also on YouTube. He's doing better numbies than I, but he definitely go check him out for anybody that sees my stuff and doesn't already know who this guy is. So go give Carson a follow, and I appreciate you jumping on, man.
Thanks, man. I appreciate you having me.
Thanks,
this was a fun time.
Yeah, dude. All right.
Peace out.
Later.